welcome to Stories Podcast. I'm your host, Amanda Weldin. Today's story is called A Wolf in Sheep's Clothing, an adaptation of a traditional folktale written for you by Daniel Hinds. Thanks! Enjoy the episode! A Wolf in Sheep's Clothing. Once upon a time, there was a hungry old wolf. She had once been young and strong, the scourge of the forest, the menace of the meadows, and the dark demon of the trees. She had spent her younger years running down darting deer, biting birds from their neat little nests, and eating just about everything that crawled, swam, flew, hoofed, hopped, slithered, or stumbled into her view. The wolf remembered those days fondly and thought of them often. She remembered the lithe and skillful predator she had once been, remembered the youthful reflection she used to see when she peeked into ponds and puddles. Now, when she looked at herself, she looked different. "When did I get so old?" she asked out loud one morning, examining herself in the glow of the early sunlight. "It feels like no time has passed at all." But it must have, because now her dark fur was frosted with the icy kiss of age. Her earth-churning paws were thin and worn. Her once keen ears felt packed full of wool, and she could no longer smell a doe on the wind. She growled at herself, and the sun's rays glinted off her killer teeth. "Seems like these pearly whites are about the only thing I've got that still works." Sure, she was missing a few here and there, but none that she needed, and her jaw still snapped shut with the power of a bear trap. "So I can't run, and I can't sneak, but I can definitely still bite. This old girl still got it. All I need is some easy prey." She found it on Maggie's farm. It was a small farm on the edge of the woods, run by the farmer Maggie herself. She grew pumpkins and some corn and boasted a small apple orchard. But Maggie's pride and joy were her sheep. They were tall and hardy, with wool so thick and white and fluffy it looked like the clouds themselves had come down to rest from the sky. When Maggie took her wool to the market, people lined up for miles to buy it. Everyone agreed that Maggie's wool made the finest coats, sweaters, and blankets around, and the socks from her sheep would stay dry even in a downpour. It was all that beautiful wool that drew the wolf's attention. She said to herself, drool already dripping from the sides of her mouth. "I bet those lambs are meaty under all that fluff." Her stomach rumbled with hunger. But the sheep were all locked away in Maggie's pasture, and none of them ever seemed to get loose and wander the wolf's way. "Well, they can't get out, but maybe I can get in." So she gave it a try. The problem was, every time she got close, Maggie would chase her away with her big iron shovel. The wolf tried to slink in during the day, and she got chased away. She tried to slip in carefully at night, and she got chased away. She tried to wait for the farmer to head to the market, but Maggie was careful to lock her sheep away in the barn whenever she left. "Why is this so difficult? I used to eat so well when I was just a young pup. If I had known it would get so much harder in my old age, I would have stored some meals away for later, like the squirrels." Desperate and hungry, the old wolf was about to give up and look for an easier meal. But then she found the sweater. It was extra large, knitted from Maggie's best, snowiest wool. It was meant for the prince's royal Great Dane, one of the largest dogs in the kingdom. Unfortunately for the chilly pup, it had fallen off Maggie's wagon and blown into the brush by the side of the road. Fortunately for the wolf, she found it before the moths did, and she carried it off, a plan brewing in her mind. "I can't sneak in. Maggie is too careful, and her big iron shovel is just too big and iron. But maybe If I look like I belong, I can blend in. With a whole pack of growls and yowls and snarls, the wolf managed to fight her way into the cloudy, puffy, marshmallowy white wool of the sweater. It hung droopy down her arms and legs. The thick turtleneck collar pulled up over her face. With a little bit of wiggling and fussing, she managed to look nearly, almost, basically exactly like a sheep. Oh, if only there was a puddle I could look in now. I look great, like a sheep. I could be best friends with little Bo Peep. I look fine, like a mutton. I'm feeling cute as a button. Oh, today's my day to make this flock my prey. Oh, yeah. I look good as a wolf. I look better in my new sweater. Time has passed and I'm aging fast, but I'm still a go-getter. Oh, the time is now to get me some chow. Yeah. That night, she slept warm in her sweater, dreams of mutton dancing through her brain. The next morning, she dug a hole under the fence and slipped into the pasture. Her heart was hammering in her chest, her mouth all dry of drool. Doing her best sheep impression, she slunk towards the flock. They were loosely bunched by the barn, grazing and baaing, stretching and walking in the early sunlight. The wolf eased in among them and pretended to eat the grass. No one gave her a second look, and she crept forward, one paw at a time. "Baa," she said softly, getting the feel for it. "Baa, baa." Not a single sheep turned to look. They all felt safe in the pasture, safe under Maggie's watchful eyes, safe with the big iron shovel in her hands. They had no idea a wolf was among them, and soon she was deep in the center of the flock. Baa! Her plan was working perfectly. There were sheep all over, just waiting to be eaten. In every direction stretched an endless, fluffy buffet. Now all she had to do was wait for Maggie to leave. What was she doing anyway? The wolf chanced a quick look over the backs of her fellow sheep. Maggie had her shovel planted in the ground next to her, and she was holding a pair of shears. As the wolf looked on, the farmer grabbed the nearest, fluffiest sheep and started trimming his wool. The sheep baaed happily, and after a few minutes in Maggie's practiced hands, there was a big pile of snowy wool and one skinny, unfluffy sheep. It nuzzled her hand and then pranced back to graze. Maggie grabbed the next sheep and started the process again. Baa! The wolf smiled, careful to keep her tongue from lolling out of her mouth and giving her away. This was perfect. She would wait until Maggie got into the groove, and then, when the farmer was shearing a sheep and distracted, she could grab a fluffy meal and drag it away. She bent down and pretended to eat some more grass, congratulating herself on being so clever. "Just a few more minutes," she whispered to herself. A handful more sheep had been sheared, and Maggie seemed to be caught up in it. "It's nearly time for dinner. Nearly time for... Oh no!" Without warning, Maggie wrapped her arms around the wolf's middle and dragged her over to her stool. "Oh, you're a big one," the farmer said happily. "Let's get you trimmed down and cooled off." The wolf felt her blood run cold. She hadn't counted on this. Her disguise had been good enough to fool even Maggie, but surely she'd see when she started cutting. What would the farmer do when she discovered the extra fluffy sheep was actually a hungry wolf? Nothing good, that's for sure. Bah! The shears began to clip, clip, clip over the wolf's back, trimming down the thick wool of the sweater. "Oh, a shaggy one, too," Maggie cheered. "Don't worry, old girl. We'll get you in your summer coat soon." The wolf's mind raced. Should she run? Should she wait? The big iron shovel was planted right there next to them. The sight of it made her knees weak. Suddenly, the wolf was so afraid she couldn't even think straight. "What have I gotten myself into?" Clip, clip, clip. The shears clicked together on every cut, sending the wool puffing to the ground like wind-blown dandelion fuzz. "If I get out of this, I swear I'll become a vegetarian." Clip, clip, clip. The wool was piled high now, looking like a pristine drift of new-fallen snow, and, to her growing horror, the wolf felt a breeze blow down her back. "Bah!" Clip, clip, clack! The shears hit a button hidden on the sweater's belly. The wooden button split, and the over-sheared sweater ran off the wolf like soap suds in the shower, leaving her standing, bare fur, in front of Maggie. "Oh, wolf!" the farmer cried, snatching up her big iron shovel. "Wolf in the pasture!" The old wolf leapt forward just as the shovel came whistling down. The sharp iron came so close it shaved some fur from her tail. "And stay out, you mangy old wolf!" Maggie shouted. The wolf ran back to the woods, panting and shaking. "I'm too old for this. There's got to be somewhere a wolf like me can get a decent meal without all the hassle." She'd find a different place to eat, someplace where no one was watching with careful eyes and big iron shovels. Someplace where she could just be a wolf, old or young. Because she'd learned the hard way that pretending to be anything else just made more trouble in the end. The end. Thanks for listening.